guys, welcome to DNA Wrestling. Just wanted to do a review of tonight's Smackdown episode, January 21, 2021. The episode opened up with just a recap of what happened the previous week with Roman, Adam Pearce, and Paul Heyman at the contract signing table in the ring, and Adam Pearce just outsmarting them, showing that they always have to read the fine print, that there's a clause within the contract saying that the card is always subject to change, and Adam Pearce was faking an injury, and to fill his spot, out comes Kevin Owens to fill his spot, and that he'll be facing Roman Reigns in the last man standing match at the Royal Rumble. So after last week's recap, the show opened up with Roman Reigns at the Thunderdome walking out with Paul Heyman with his entrance music. The crowd's chanting "You suck" as he's standing in the ring, getting so much heat. He's waiting for the fans, virtual fans, to stop saying "You suck." Waiting there for about a good 30 seconds, and then Roman asked Paul that KO was going to send a message today. But then Roman then said that you're not going to see KO tonight because he said so. So Roman Reigns pulled some strings for KO not to be allowed into the building. He revisits last week's events on the contract, on the verbiage saying cards subject to change. He thought that was real clever. Roman Reigns made it clear that cleverness, that him being played, is way beneath him. It's a loser's mindset. It's for those who don't show up to work. Roman shows up to work every single time. He doesn't make excuses. He even put his health, even took his health, being out of risk in the pandemic, to keep him out of the ring, and that was the only thing that kept him out of the ring. So as Roman is speaking, out comes Adam Pearce, saying that it's gone too far, it's spiraling out of control. Roman Reigns questions about control. What's out of control is that he was going against him, that he was trying to put KO into the title picture. So Roman Reigns saying that how he has the audacity, saying how his body feels of the injuries and the pain when he's been out of the ring for 6 years. Roman Reigns goes on to explain that he's a thoroughbred of the WWE, week in and week out. He never complains. The pain never bothered him, and never stopped him from pretty much putting it out on the line every single week. He never complained about anything. Adam then turns to Paul, saying that he's not gonna take intimidation from Paul Heyman, and then Roman Reigns retracts that, saying, Paul, he's disrespecting you, and if he's disrespecting you, then he's disrespecting me. Paul, you better straighten him up. And so Paul tries to toughen up, saying that you just disrespected the tribal chief, that he knew his family since he was 15, that do you know what it's like to be part of the NOI family? You think I'm not capable and impotent as a man? He goes on saying that he's from New York and that he'll whip his butt if you disrespect my client, the tribal chief. And then he offered up the challenge to face Adam Pearce that night in a match, and I don't think Paul knew what he was getting himself into. Probably on the back of his mind, he's probably thinking that he was going along with Reigns, and that Reigns was pretty much gonna cover for him. So I thought that was interesting. I've never seen. He might have very well been in a match, but I don't recall any matches that I've seen him in. So this was going to be a definitely interesting episode.
One person already using the brand.
So next, Sami Zayn comes out with his documentary team. He has a film crew and a sign that says "Justice for Sami." He has handcuffs. which he handcuffs himself to the barricade, saying that he's not going anywhere. So he pretty much was there throughout a good portion of the episode. He said that he is officially entering the Royal Rumble, especially after the victimization that he experienced last week. He was ranting about Apollo Crews protesting his loss last week, of how Apollo pulled his tights, how it wasn't fair, of how he was being treated. He was being the victim. So Sami was gonna stay there about halfway through the episode. So it was funny just seeing the other wrestlers walking on the entrance, passing by Sami, and you see Sami holding different signs. I thought that was really hilarious. So the first match of the night was Charlotte Flair and Asuka versus the Riot Squad, with Billie Kay as their honorary member of the team. Billie Kay's still trying to find her tag team home, and it was funny. Billie Kay looked very interesting. She was dressed up similar to the Riot Squad. She had a nose ring and everything. The whole attire was very Riot Squadish. So Ruby and Liv were doing their thing in the match. They're holding their ground against Asuka and Charlotte. I was surprised by Liv. She's definitely improving week by week. She was holding it down, especially against Charlotte. They're doing reversals against each other. Billie definitely outside of the ring was a liability, which led to their defeat pretty much. Billie was outside the ring talking with the ref when Ruby already had Asuka for the pin count, which could have been 3. So Asuka tried to hit Ruby against the rope. Ruby then avoided the hip attack, knocking Liv, who was outside of the ring, to the ground. Asuka then tagged Charlotte to do the natural selection on Ruby. Pretty much Billie Kay costed Ruby and Liv on the match. Asuka and Charlotte were the winners of the match. That match followed by a backstage segment. Just Billie Kay just apologizing backstage to Ruby and Liv Morgan. And Ruby was just questioning Billie's apology, and Billie Kay just trying to explain to them that all great teams have overcome obstacles, and that this is just one of the obstacles. But Ruby, in the end, pretty much kicked Billie out of the squad. She went on to say that there is no us. The squad is much better with just the 2 of us, which is Liv and Ruby. Next segment was with Daniel Bryan just walking to the ring in street clothes or just casual attire, just explaining to the fans of how he's looking forward to the Royal Rumble. So I thought that was funny. Daniel, as he was walking towards the ring, Sami, like I said earlier, he was still handcuffed to the barricade, and Sami's holding the sign saying to stand against moral injustice. The crowd is chanting the yes, doing the yes chants. Daniel Bryan speaks on the upcoming Royal Rumble, of how it gives him chills, and just the excitement that he gets out of it. It comes from the uncertainty of he doesn't know what number he's going to come out with, how the countdown and the buzzer pretty much just gives him so much exhilaration, especially against fighting against 29 other superstars. I'm saying that the Royal Rumble is one of the most grueling things. It makes him feel alive, despite all the pain. That it's all worth it because the winner gets to face the champion of their choosing in the main event at WrestleMania. The one thing that he mentioned that he has never done is win a Royal Rumble match. So out comes Cesaro, interrupts Daniel's segment, saying that he thought he beat some sense into him, and that how is he gonna win the Royal Rumble? Saying pretty much he's not gonna win the Royal Rumble, that he's the first ever Andre the Giant Memorial winner. So Daniel Bryan claps back at Cesaro, saying, "Let's just fight." So you see Daniel Bryan taking off his coat, and Cesaro was pretty much saying, "How about no? I already beat you." So out comes Dolph Ziggler, interrupting Daniel Bryan and Cesaro. Dolph goes on to explain that how he's the second most. He's second in the most Royal Rumbles to ever been in as a WWE superstar. The first one being Kane being the most Royal Rumbles. Dolph goes on to explain that his stamina is unmatched. There's no one in the locker room that can go to toe with him except Cesaro. So that's why he wanted to face Cesaro. And then he pretty much throws a cheap shot to Daniel Bryan, saying that it is in 2014 anymore, Daniel. So the next match is Cesaro and Dolph. So Daniel Bryan is on the commentary watching Cesaro and Dolph fight each other. Daniel Bryan just reliving moments of his longest Royal Rumble time being an hour and 16 minutes. Then it flips to Cesaro doing this swing against Dolph. So he's swinging Dolph around maybe it seemed like 30 times, and you can see just Dolph's arms just flailing in the air. Like, he didn't cross his arms, his arm was just outstretched, just going around in circles. And then Cesaro and Dolph were reversing each other's pins like 15 times, just countering each other until Ziggler does the zigzag. Then the camera cuts back to Sami. Sami's not holding a sign that says Sami was robbed, changed my mind. So Cesaro eventually recovers from the zigzag and catches Dolph bouncing off the rope to do the neutralizer. So 2 weeks in a row, Cesaro has beaten two former world champions. Match number 3 was Sasha Banks and Reginald, which is Carmella Sommelier. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Anyway, it was a pretty entertaining match for the most part. I was surprised. I didn't think it was gonna be remotely good, but Reginald definitely was doing all these matrix flips throughout the match. But I just wanted to also point out at the beginning of the match, I thought it was hilarious that Reginald offered up a flower to Sasha, just trying to be a gentleman, and he was asking for a kiss on the cheek as he was speaking French towards her. Then pretty much Sasha was just slapping him around. And then just throughout the match, Sasha just tried to do all these moves on him, and then Reginald just slipping out and doing all these flips and slipping out of the ring. And whenever Sasha tried to Irish whip him to the steps or to the ropes, he would just somehow just do all these flips and just land on his feet. It was definitely impressing Carmella. But eventually, Sasha comes off the apron and then lands a Meteora on Reginald. So she goes over the top rope, lands the Meteora off from the apron, and then she goes up to Carmella, flips the wine glass that Carmella is drinking out of. Eventually, Sasha hits Reggie with tries to hit Reggie with a backstabber, but Reggie counters that on his feet. And then Sasha lands another Meteora, and then eventually putting Reggie into the bank statement, making Reggie tap. So Sasha won this one convincingly, tossing Reggie out of the ring, and she continues to jaw at Carmella. So this is going to be an ongoing storyline. Then there's a small segment back to Paul and Roman, saying that Paul was saying that to Roman that we got him, and Roman was saying, what are you talking about? And Roman was just telling him that I passed you the mic to rip them to shreds, because Paul can just rip anyone into shreds with his mic skills. Roman told Paul, "I didn't tell you to challenge him in a match." And pretty much Roman was just telling him to man up. He did not hire a special counsel. He hired a man that he's representing me. He's representing the tribal chief, and just Paul just looks so concerned that he was eventually gonna have to face Adam Pearce, and you just see this big look of regret. Of, like I said earlier, it's like he had no idea what he was getting himself into. This match was Big E versus Apollo Crews. So as the wrestlers were walking down the ramp, you see Sami still there, handcuffed to the barricade, holding a sign saying, "Not my IC champion," as Big E is walking by. Big E pretty much opens the match up with a belly suplex against Apollo. Camera cuts again back to Sami, holding a sign saying, "How do you sleep at night?" Apollo tries to fight back against Big E, does a moonsault and pins Big E, but Big E kicks out. Apollo attempts to do a hat trick on a German suplex, but couldn't hit the third one. Big E plants Crews with a Uranagi, and then Apollo does a moonsault from the apron and lands on Big E on the outside. So they continue fighting. Big E and Crews are on the top turnbuckle. So Big E's trying to do a suplex from the top turnbuckle to Crews. Crews headbutts Big E, dropping Big E to the ground. Then the camera cuts back to Sami. Sami unhandcuffs himself, and then pretty much interferes in the match, doing the haluva kick on both Crews and Big E. Sam was just yelling at Big E, saying, "This is what a champion looks like," as he was pointing to himself. And then Sam was just yelling and ranting and just spilling out his frustration to his camera crew, who's documenting the whole thing. And Sam was just saying that he didn't ask for this and that you brought this on yourself. So Big E, through the interference, Big E retained the Intercontinental Championship. I didn't mention earlier, I'm sorry, didn't mention that this was for the Intercontinental Championship. Then there's a short segment with KO, Kevin Owens in a car. It's pretty dark in the car, but he's talking, saying that Roman pulled some strings to prevent him from being on the show, and saying that Roman didn't earn the matches, his family did, just because of his family's help, that Roman was able to beat KO. KO goes on to talk about his tattoos of his family, of how his family motivates him, that he's fighting for him, that he has tattoos of his kids, and his family, but the ones that stood out the most were the ones on his knuckles, which were the initials of his grandfathers. One of Melvin, which is his father's dad, and Pierre on his other hand, which is his mom's dad. He went on to say that his grandfathers were his biggest fans, and that his biggest regret was that they didn't get to see him join the WWE because they passed a couple years prior. They battled illness, but they refused to quit, and that he was lucky to have many great years with them, and that he was just praising them that they kept on fighting their illness, that they were warriors, that they didn't give up. So that's why he won't stop fighting. That's why he's gonna keep fighting until he's the last man standing at the Royal Rumble. So the next segment is with the Street Profits. So they are walking backstage with a fruit basket, and they approach Sonya DeVille. I think she's like the new official in SmackDown, uh, alongside Adam Pearce. But anyway, Montez Ford and Dawkins were just congratulating DeVille on her new position, and they were just trying to get request a rematch, I guess, for the tag team championships. But Sonya was telling them, since Montez wasn't 100%, he still is recovering from injuries, just to keep doing their funny segments backstage and just let other tag teams have their chance. And then she added Fam in the end, which this was very, a unique scenario. I just didn't understand this segment at all. But the Street Profits, they agreed, and they handed the fruit basket to Sonya. So I thought that was really interesting. I'm not sure what I felt about that segment. The next segment was the Ultimate Obstacle Course Challenge that Bayley challenged Bianca last week on the Ding Dong episode of Bayley. So Adam Cole was the host, so he introduced Bianca Belair and Bayley. So they're both in their athletic attire. Bayley's just bragging about that American Ninja Warrior got nothing on her obstacle course. So the challenges were to do a 400-pound tire flip, run down the ramp, run across these small hurdles, and then go over these wooden obstacles, and then do a fireman's carry, which they would have to carry Chad Gable over their shoulders from one red line to the other, and then ended off with doing a layup on a basketball hoop, which was near the end of the ramp, entrance ramp. So Bayley went first, so she did all that. She flipped the 400-pound tire, she ran down the ramp, she ran across the small foot hurdles. She didn't go over the wooden obstacles, she actually just ran around them. She did like a serpentine around them. Then she did the fireman's carry on Chad. They're saying that Chad was like 200 pounds. And then Bayley eventually finished it off with a layup, but it took her 2 tries to get the ball into the hoop. So her final time was 1 minute and 12 seconds. So Bayley instructed the people or whoever was setting up the course to adjust the course to make it an EST course specifically for Belair. So Bianca's turn, so she did the tire flip. Now the hurdles were different. These are Olympic size hurdles. These aren't these 1 foot hurdles that Bayley had to run through. So Bianca did that with ease. She even went over the wooden obstacles, and then as soon as she was about to do the fireman's carry on Chad, out comes Otis out of nowhere. So that was another curveball that Bayley threw at Bianca. However, Bianca carried Otis with ease. Like, she has this humongous legs muscles, so she did that with ease, and then ended off with a slam dunk, so beating Bayley's time by 17 seconds. So Bayley was just embarrassed. Like, this was her course. She's the one who threw the event. Just seeing herself lose and being embarrassed like that, she threw the basketball at Bianca and starts beating her up in embarrassment. And then she threw Bianca's shoulder into the basketball pole. And then Bianca's just writhing in pain, and just Bayley was just so frustrated as she went walking towards the back. So I guess Bayley doesn't like losing. Next match was King Corbin versus Dominic Mysterio. So Dominic comes out. I'm starting to like the camera quality or style that WWE is doing. They're doing it in a way where it focuses on the wrestler on the foreground while the background is blurred out. So they have that depth of field going on. So Dominic starts off the match at a fast pace. He's getting to the rhythm. Then eventually Corbin takes over and just pretty much dominated the match. Like, it started off with Baron Corbin just almost taking off Dominic's head with a crazy clothesline. Then Corbin eventually counters the 619 and eventually does the end of days on Dominic. So this was a pretty short match and Corbin won that match. Thought that Dominic was going to be sent to NXT or some other performance to kind of enhance his character. So I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but he's still staying on the main roster for now, but we'll see how it goes. The kid definitely has a lot of talent. And the final match of the night was the main event, and that was with Paul Heyman and Adam Pearce. So Adam Pearce was already in the ring. He's just wearing a WWE jacket with his pants on, waiting for Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman walks out with his suit still on, but he's just walking down the ramp while wrapping his hands with tape. And as he's walking up the steps to get into the ring, he trips. So he's pretending that he's injured. And then grabs the mic and tells Adam, you know what they say, card subject to change, as he's sitting next to the barricade, pretending to be injured. And then out walks Roman Reigns. So how the tables have turned, and Adam just looking down, just shaking his head. And then Roman warned Adam that he was gonna get his butt kicked. So Roman goes into the ring, does the Superman punch on Adam, and Adam rolls out of the ring, and Paul's just jawing at him. So Roman's just beating the crap out of Adam Pearce. So he takes him and they walk towards the backstage, and he starts ramming Adam's body into the video boards where the virtual fans are. So he just keeps throwing Adam into the video boards all over the place. And then from the back, you see this hooded person coming to attack Reigns, and what do you know? It's KO. KO runs out, attacks Reigns. They start fighting each other. KO counters a Superman punch, and KO puts Reigns down. KO throws Reigns into the barricade. Officials try to separate the two. KO fights through the refs and starts stomping on Reigns as he's lying on the ground. And then KO stuns Roman Reigns, so it gives him the stunner. And eventually KO, they're heading towards the announcer table, does a pop-up power bomb into the announce table, breaking the table, and you can see just Reigns just lying there, his lifeless body. And it just ends with him, with Roman's on the ground, and you see KO as the last man standing. So could this be what happens in their Royal Rumble match? We'll see. Thank you guys for watching and listening. If you like this video, just show some love, hit the like button, and make sure you subscribe to DNA Wrestling. Thank you.
Paper into that same Ohio computer. When the telephone connection between these two terminals is made.